welcome to yet another episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. And with me is my colleague Dzof Azmi, and we're going to just jump into it right now and bring you some interesting stories which we feel have the ability to move the needle in Malaysia's digital economy. And we're going to start off with a startup which is in the business-to-business space. Very few startups are playing in this space. Most of them are in the consumer space, like Karsam, right, which is a unicorn. Although Aerodyne is in the business-to-business space, so that's a unicorn also. Or not yet officially, everybody's saying, hey, that's a unicorn. Hopefully the next round officially cements them as a unicorn. But that aside, let's stick to a company that could potentially be a unicorn. And this is Dropee, which is a Southeast Asia, Malaysia headquarters, focused B2B wholesale startup. When they first started out, they were focusing on mom and pop shops, and they still are actually. And the co-founders are Lenis Ng and Aizat Rahim, right? And congratulations to them for raising $7 million, right? And that is now
$7 million US dollars, Karam.
It's considered a Series A, okay? So I love it because before the pandemic, before 2020 February, this would have been like a Series B or C, right? Because you transfer that into quite a nice sum of US ringgit, which is almost 30 million ringgit. So I like the fact that they've raised this amount and they've got existing investors. Win Capital have returned, and congratulations to Victor, right, for seeing the potential in Lenis Ng and Dropee. But you got a whole bunch of new investors, including a Hong Kong-based family and all that. You can read the details of that in our article. But what we want to say is that now with Lenis, having raised this amount and potentially, raising more in the Series B, this just shows that they've gained traction. And I know back before we got on, Dzof was surprised that they have like 80,000, right? Sorry, did they say 80,000, Dzof?
Yeah, it was like 80,000 SME businesses. That's just a phenomenal number.
Not yet. So the reason why I say not yet is because one of the key things that Lenis told us, it was not in the press release, it was in the follow-up question we sent her, which is in our article, is that they are going to be using the money to continually focus on Malaysia and Indonesia. She didn't mention Singapore so much because Singapore is obviously a small place and you can easily cover, the country and its SMEs. But they're going to use this money and keep focusing on Malaysia, Indonesia, because the market potential is huge. Malaysia has 900,000 MSMEs. M means micro, right? So a huge potential. And I wouldn't even be surprised if when they raise their next round, I'm not going to say if, when, and they raise like, 15 or 30 million US dollars, then they're probably going to go to another country. But they're still going to probably say Malaysia and Indonesia is where the action is. Still so much upside. Or for them, the deep side, because you're going to go deep into the ecosystem, right? And one of the key things they're doing is, and Dzof, you were surprised that they're offering financing to the ecosystem players. And that is huge, right? Because these people, many of them, and your mom and pop shops, or even your small-time distributor, are not on the radar of the banks because they may not have that three-year, a profitability track record to get into the bank's radar. And with Dropee, they can, because they've got the keyword, right? The very keyword here is the D word. And the D here I'm talking about is data, right? It is the key four-letter word in the digital economy, data. They have data on these merchants and on these wholesalers, on these distributors, and they can, and the algorithm probably, ironically, is no different than that is being used by the banks. It's just that the rules you're instituting in there is different. The algorithm is looking for something different and is able to, because they've got the data of these merchants, right? These supplier wholesalers, right, on their platform. Because remember, Dropee is a platform, right, which helps merchants manage their inventory, manage their procurement also. It's an incredibly powerful tool. The banks cannot play in this space yet. These guys are playing this space, and look at what they've done. $7 million US dollars as a Series A, right? And also they said that annually now they're already seeing more than $100 million US dollars, right, going through their platform. And I guarantee you, by the time they raise the next round, they're probably going to say $500 million. That's how fast they're moving. That is the kind of potential these kind of data-led platforms have. And I know, Dzof, that, by the way, when they say with their financing, they're increasing the period of financing from 35 days, they're increasing it to 60 days. They're almost doubling the breathing period they're giving to their merchants. Again, why are they able to do it? Because their data allows them to have the security, the visibility that no one else has of, Karamjit, enterprises, right? Who's based in Inner Balakong, not even Hulu, but Inner Balakong, who's servicing some customers there for the last 2 years, who's reliably earning maybe $1 million, $1.5 million ringgit. And these guys are able to do that, the banks are not. So banks who are listening in are saying, man, how do we get in on this action? You get in by being an investor in the next round of Dropee. That's how.
I mean, it's almost like, because we always liken startups and whatnot to like, are you a McDonald's or are you a five-star restaurant? Are you trying to maximize your base or are you trying to go this very elite thing? These guys are like a McDonald's who know what food you like already and are even willing to lend you money to buy food from them. That's how incredible I think this story is, right? It's a combination of mass with this ability to sort of let everyone take part who wants to take part. I think that's what's incredible.
Incredible. And you wanted to mention, you saw the D word being used by Mr. TF, right? You want to quickly add that point, Dzof?
Yeah, because Tony Fernandes himself this week, and then there's another story, is that he came out and he said, look, AirAsia has ambitions to be the largest food delivery and ride transport, ride sharing, well, what we used to call ride sharing now, it's transportation player. And I mean, he's playing catch up with a lot of other guys, right? But he's, one thing Tony Fernandes is not short of his confidence.
And bravado and gumption. You're right. The fact that food delivery is fine. You're still competing with the likes of Food Panda, right? And then obviously the big one is Food Panda and Grab. Yeah, but even Boost now is playing strongly in this Boost business, playing strongly in this space. And for him to even say mobility, right, ride sharing, that is very gutsy because it is almost a market very much dominated by Grab. And yet he feels he can come in. So look, the market will, but customers will benefit if you've got another big player. So credit to him, but he's only able to do that because he's got data also. So it's the D word that is enabling Tony to say, I can compete with anyone else in the market. And so let's just move on quickly to yet another story, which is a good news from all small companies, because 1337 Ventures, run by Bikesh Lakmichan, has announced a US 88,000 US dollar fund, which is 1.2 million, right? Where 1337 Accelerator Fund 1 has now been launched. It's got 1.2 million. And the other investors in this are Asgari Stevens, who's a very well-known investor from the .com era back in the year 2020, right? And Asgari, back in the year 2000. So Asgari is still in the game. Is now coming forward. He's been playing a quiet role in the background, coming forward now with him being a main investor in this fund. And also Suresh Thiru, who we mentioned once in a while, he has come in also to put in some money and they've launched this. And he's targeting early stage startups at the pre-seed and seed stage. And the maximum, I think, amount of money they plan to invest is like up to 35,000 US dollars, which is about 150,000 ringgit. That's the max they're going in. But they said that there's a lot of potential in early stage startups, and this one has come in to play that role. So all of you, especially those who were winners in the Top in Tech Innovation Awards that we just announced on Thursday, okay, we're taping this on a Saturday. We'll have some news on that next week's show, because too many stories to talk about this week. But you can obviously now go to people like this. So this 1.2 million was not there before. As of Friday, it is there. And all emerging and new startups, right, in the pre-seed or seed stage, you now have another venue where you can raise money from. So kudos to Bikesh, kudos to Suresh, and kudos to Asgari Stevens. And we're going to go on to another startup which has done an amazing thing, which is that they have beaten a Asia Pac panel of. So this is another competition, but it is focused on technology companies, whereas the DNA and Malaysia Top in Tech is actually, we've got categories where we look at brick and mortar companies, we look at government agencies pushing the digital economy. We also look at universities, right? So this is only looking at startups, right? Technology companies. But NexMind AI, which is also a DNA Digirati 50, has beaten a strong field, right, to win an APICTA Asia Pacific Award in the category of digital marketing and consumer technology, right? And and Francis Liu is ecstatic, overjoyed. I've already done the interview with him. I'll run the story for the coming week, hopefully Monday. And he beat 9 competitors, right? These are the finalists. So the pipeline would have been like 50, 60 companies applying. You filter down to the final 9, and the judges are a serious group of judges, right? Very respectable. And they ended up, picking NexMind to be the winner. And of course, like I said, Francis is over the moon. His team is probably still celebrating, right? Their award win, which was announced on December 31st or January 1st. And he says that, and what is interesting very quickly is that they won it for their multilingual, right, SEO machine learning system, which is incredible. And I think Dzof, you and I had a peek of this back in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, maybe listeners won't know, but
yeah, right, carry on.
Yeah. Sorry, I mean, maybe listeners won't know, but this is fundamentally what he's trying to do. Is he's trying to sort of, I think we said it in our headline, out Google, right? That's how we and that's not to say that he's trying to compete against Google, rather because so many companies depend on Google ranking them highly. What he's trying to do is trying to help these companies understand what they need to do so that to optimize their SEO so that they can come up higher. And what he's done, and this is what, when we talked to him a few years ago, he talked about doing this in a multilingual way, right? So if your page is in a different language. And it sounds like, I mean, I haven't seen his latest.
Yeah, exactly. He has delivered. Fantastic. That's what entrepreneurs do. So not just he has delivered, he has become a winning product, right? So the other 8 finalists would have been very strong in whatever software they had come up with. And the fact that the judges went for his multilingual, I think the key was multilingual. And Asia Pac, it is not the English-speaking region. It's a multilingual region, and I think it resonated very strongly with the judges. So fantastic. Remember the name of this company, right? NexMind AI, and remember Francis Liu. You're going to be hearing more of them. So Dzof, now maybe let's go on to a local government agency, right? We mentioned maybe JPJ will probably submit, to say we want to be part of the top in tech innovation awards. We will submit for the public agency category. So talk about this now, Dzof.
Well, I'm not sure if it's as cutting edge as that, but one of the things that JPJ is trying to do is to try to make their so when you go and get your do the driving test to get your driver's license. It used to be that you used to have that officer sitting next to you while you're doing the driving test, and then they would be like looking over your shoulder, and then, sometimes they would make comments which maybe not really suitable comments be made in the car while you're trying to do your test. What they're trying to do with JPJ now is to do something called e-testing, where instead of having an officer sit directly next to you in the car, they have all these monitors and sensors and cameras in the car as you're doing the testing, and then they monitor you from a central location. So in theory, one officer can monitor several tests going on at the same time. And hopefully all this stuff is recorded, right? So if you have any issues with how a test is assessed, you can actually go back to the recording and then say, look, this is what you did well, this is what you could have done better. It's actually, the pictures are there, it looks interesting. I think it could work, actually, Karam. I think it's something that could work.
I hope so. The fact that they're experimenting with this now, doing a pilot, that shows that even these plodding agencies, and I think the minister, Rika Siong, has said that, I think he has mentioned JPJ is just so behind times, right, in terms of adopting digital. So this is good first step, because then you can get your results right away. You don't have to wait like 2 weeks. And also, he said they can do other things to improve the efficiency. I think you mentioned that you can also start applying for some things, right, where you don't have to go to the counter. And look, anytime you can reduce going to the counter, that's fantastic, correct? I think you mentioned 2 things, which is for your learner license, your learner permit, and even license renewal, it can be done online. And also, he said you can already do it at myg.com.my. So that's already there. But I want to mention one thing which was sobering for me, because we talk so much, and you and I promote the digital economy so much, and this show we say, hey, this is moving the digital agenda forward.
Shall we move to the last thing, which is also a lot of pain for a lot of people?
Yep.
Do you use touch and go, Karam?
I use touch and go, but it's physically I have to slow down and touch it. I don't use the smart tag, or I have not done the RFID yet. Okay.
But if you had used the RFID, Karam, then you would know this complaint that people have been having for the last week, right?
It has encroach into many of my non-tech, WhatsApp groups as well. So I know it's a.
And RFID is great because it's on the car. It's you can move faster through the gate toll. You don't have to handle cash anymore. You can top up through your app. Everything is digital. It's great, isn't it, Karam? Except the problem was, it didn't really work. So what's the issue?
I think the execution, it's not that it didn't really work. So I know they've gotten hammered, especially the first few days, because lanes which were smart tag, and this is specifically to do with smart tag. The smart tag lanes were suddenly switched to becoming RFID only. And people out of habit, right? You may be still, early in the morning, you're still half asleep, and you're on, it's your automatic, motor, what they call it, memory, right? Muscle memory. You're just driving and you're going through that lane, and suddenly oh, wait a minute, what's this RFID? You mean it's RFID now? And you cannot reverse out, because in the morning rush hour, there are like 10 cars behind you. Even if there were 3 cars behind you already, you're stuck. Right, so this got people really pissed that why can't my smart tag work? And of course there were people who were already alerted months before that. But human nature, you don't take something seriously until it hits you in the face, and now you're getting 2 slaps. Like I just gave myself 2 slaps just now, right? But of course you're not going to slap yourself. You're going to blame someone else. You say, what the heck is wrong with Plus, man? Why they do this, do that? And why are there?
You go to social media, right?
Why isn't there still a lane with smart tag? Okay, go ahead, Dzof.
So you go to social media, you go to the Facebook, and you complain on the Facebook, right? Except you can't do that even now.
Oh no, I thought they removed it. I think they allowed comments again, Dzof. So
they allowed comments again. All right.
It
looked like
what happened was that the people, there was a tiny team handling the Facebook, and they got overwhelmed emotionally and psychologically by the amount of negative comments coming in. And somebody who was empowered just made a unilateral decision to switch off comments. And that, of course, got people who were sitting on sidelines, got agitated and whacking them some more. And a golden rule of social media in this stage, you never switch off comments, no matter how brutal the shellacking you're getting. You try to address the issues, because people are giving you free feedback. But of course, the feedback comes with a spicy dose of, jalapeno and the most spicy chili padasa, right? You just got to take it. If we messed up in our execution, just quickly do, because the customer is always right, just quickly do something to remedy the situation. And they got whacked. But by the way, what I've learned from back end, I'm telling you the backstory is that it was not the decision made by the top brass of Plus to say, hey, let's close the comments. It was made by somebody unilaterally, because they run an empowered organization. So this person got overwhelmed and switched off, and of course now it's back on. But they got it even worse. And then also, look, the RFID thing is actually by touch and go, because it's a partnership between them, right? And remember, at one point, Plus owned a stake in touch and go, but they don't own anymore. It's owned by CIMB only now. So the decision to go ahead was by a close partner of theirs, and even the price point, 35 ringgit, I think it's 35 ringgit, right, for RFID tag. People are complaining, and of course, then a former Prime Minister got into that, also saying, why is it so expensive, right? It should be much cheaper. So they're getting whacked there. But again, Plus, I'm not defending Plus, but I'm saying this out that they don't have a say in how much is being charged for it. And I know there's one of the leading tech influencers, Aaron Salma, tweet to say that why can't they open up to have multiple wallets? And the reason why they're not is because obviously Touch and Go, right, has their own e-wallet. For competitive reasons, they're not going to open up and allow 10 other wallets, even 2 other wallets in, right? They want everyone to be. So I can understand that from a competitive point of view, and they want to drive usage, and drive people to adopt their wallet. So that's fine by me. But the price point is an issue with me also. They absolutely could have even gone to 19 ringgit, I think, right, and made it there. Because the guy who's driving the Breitling or your Daimler Benz, right, versus the guy like me who's driving a 25-year-old Vera, we're paying the same.
But you're going to get a brand new car.
Sorry?
You're going to be one of these new shiny car owners now, right? So,
Oh yeah, no, that's my wife. We've got a new shiny car. It's a 2016 model, right? So she got a second-hand model, but the point is that you got people driving old cars and the tag price is the same. It can be brought down further. I'm hoping it is, right? Because the government has obviously asked them to sort it out. Very easy for the government to score points, right? Hey, we're concerned, sort this out, man. Right? Yeah, not happy, right? Election coming. That's unsaid. So yeah, that's something.
So the short of it, Karam, is that these are very digital solutions that are marred by very human problems. I think that's
absolutely right. They should have thought through this way better and had all hands on station on the first few days, right? So the fault, of course, lies with Plus, but also lies with Touch and Go. Some people are saying that technology is old. It may be old, but hey, come on, QR codes is an old technology. Nobody is saying that, hey, why are we using a 15-year-old technology, right? Or QR codes is actually 20 years. So I don't buy the point that the technology is old, right? They have used it. And otherwise, you stop using QR code. I refuse to use QR code. It's older technology. So they need to sort it out fast because it's still teething issues there. But I know they are working through it now. But just that this is a sobering point when you have rolling out technology. You got to make sure that the customer service aspect, the human aspect, has been thought through, and you're thinking 2 steps ahead. Worst case, what if this happened? What is happening? You cannot say that we've given people 6 months notice to do that. That doesn't work. When a customer is angry on the point and they tweet at the point, right, they're steaming and burning hot, they're angry. No customer is going to blame themselves. Say, yeah lah. 6 months ago they already warned. I should have done my part. Sorry, my fault. No customer I know has said that. So again, this just some the real life issues with when you're rolling out a technology solution. For many other companies, we're trying to roll out mass consumer products. They take lessons away from this and be ready, right? When it comes time for you to roll out your mass consumer technology product. With that, we'll end this week's show. It's been very interesting and many key takeaways from there. Dzof, any last words before we end?
No, just to have a great weekend and Chinese New Year coming up. Hope we have it feels like a holiday season coming up again. That's what it feels like.
We've got a big DNA event coming up next week. So next weekend we can say holiday season. All right. But with that,
yes.
We'll see all of you again next week.